Hi people! A lot of you have been asking me questions about St. Olaf in my comments, so I thought why not do a little Q&A video. So I made a post and asked you guys questions and wait, what? I made a post and asked if you guys had any questions and you did. So I will be answering them in this video right now. I'm also going to be doing my makeup for no reason. The first question is, how is the dorm situation? Any recommendations on the best or worst dorms for first years, and what does the inside of the dorms look like? Well, first of all, every dorm room comes with a bed, a desk, a chair, some kind of closet situation, and a fridge and a microwave. The fridge and the microwave is only one per room, but everything else there's obviously like two if you have a double, or three, a triple, or whatever your situation is. So pretty basic, nothing crazy. In terms of like best or worst dorms for first years, I lived in Ellingson, and at the time I did not appreciate it as much as I should have, because honestly I do think it's the best first year dorm. The rooms are big-ish. Like honestly, the first thing I said when I walked into my dorm room as a first year, I was like, wow, this is bigger than I thought it was gonna be. Also, the bathrooms are pretty big in Ellingson, and every floor has like a communal lounge space, so it has a community feel to it. The only downside is that it's kind of far from the quad and the academic buildings, but honestly I think every first year dorm is kind of like on the outskirts of campus, so that's gonna be an issue no matter where you live. But honestly, it wasn't even an issue, it was just like kind of inconvenient. But yeah, highly recommend Ellingson. I know people who've lived in Kildall, and I lived there over the summer in a single, and it was nice as a single, but I can see why people complain about the size if you're in a double, because the rooms are pretty small for two people. How would you describe the academic environment at St. Olaf? Is it more collaborative or competitive? I would say in my experience, it's definitely been more collaborative. That could also depend on your major. I'm a psych major, and I feel like in general, a psych major is like, I don't know, it's like in between competitive and collaborative, because of course you have the people who are like all gung-ho about like getting their research positions and their internship positions, and who think that their GPA is everything, but then you have the people who are more like chill about it and just want to learn and like have a good time, which honestly like I fit more in that category. But for the most part, in my experience, in all my classes that I've taken, I've met more people who have a more collaborative mindset than a competitive one. And once again, in my experience, whenever I've asked someone to like study together, they've always said yes, and we've had fun studying. If I ask someone for notes, they'll like give them to me. I've had people just share their notes with me on Google Docs without me even asking, because we were just put in a group together, or we just like sit next to each other in class. So it kind of depends on your major and your situation and the people that you know, but for the most part, in my experience, it's been very collaborative. How accessible are professors outside of class? I'd say pretty accessible. Every professor that I've had has had office hours listed on the syllabus, and with some professors you can even like sign up for a time so that you know for sure you'll be able to talk to them. I've even had professors say that if their office hours don't work for you, you can email them and you can figure out a different time to meet, so that's pretty helpful. I don't have any complaints about accessibility outside of class, but maybe if you're in a bigger class, then it might be harder to find time to meet with a professor, because there's going to be more people trying to meet with them outside of class. But for the most part, I do have positive things to say about access to professors. What's the social scene like? Is it mostly on-campus events, or do people go out into Northfield or the Twin Cities a lot? I feel like you'll get a different answer depending on who you ask this question to, but I feel qualified to answer this question accurately because I love social events and I go to a lot of them. There's a train going crazy in the background, but I'm just gonna power through. So the on-campus social scene in terms of like events and stuff is mainly events put on by Programming Board. Shout out Programming Board. They do so much to keep this campus alive and thriving, but they're responsible for at least one social event a week. They're responsible for Press Ball, Casino Night, Spring Fest, and everything in between. We also have the Pause, which is like, you can get pizza there, but it's also like a concert venue. So sometimes they'll have artists come perform, and they'll also do pause dances, which is basically like a school sanctioned party. They're actually really fun if they play the right music and if you go with fun people. But because St. Olaf is technically a dry campus, which means that there's no alcohol allowed on campus and you can't drink alcohol on campus, there aren't any like big parties that aren't school sanctioned happening on campus necessarily. Like, yeah, people still drink alcohol on campus, but they don't make it like super public because they know that if they get caught, they will get in trouble. So when people want to be public with their drinking or go to like a bigger function that's not school sanctioned, they either go to the off-campus houses where a lot of athletes live. They host parties. It's basically like our version of frat houses. I personally don't think those parties are very fun unless you go on St. Patrick's Day, then that's baller. But people also go to the bars in town. There's 3 that I can think of. There's the Contented Cow, which is my favorite. Sometimes they have DJs or student bands and it's just a really good vibe. Everyone packs in there. It's like Northfield's version of the club. Then there's Carboni's. Everyone goes to Carboni's on Thursdays for college Thursdays. You can buy 1 drink and get 1 for $1, so you can get like tipsy to drunk for like $15 on a Thursday. I'm not the biggest fan of Carboni's because for the most part, people just sit around and drink beer. And to me, that's not very fun. I'd rather dance. Then we have Froggy Bottoms. I think it was closed for a while, but I think it just opened back up. I went a couple weeks ago. It was okay. I still definitely prefer the Cow, but those are like the 3 bar options in Northfield. And then sometimes people also go to Carleton College, which is like a mile away. And Carleton is not a dry campus, so they can like publicly host big parties and drink publicly on campus. So people like to go to their parties. I have been there a couple times and it is very fun. In terms of going out into the cities, I usually hear people doing that just for like concerts and stuff. It's not like people go into the cities every weekend because they're bored here, because there's definitely things to do. I think people mainly go if they have a specific thing that they want to do and it just so happens to be in the cities. What's the overall vibe of the student body and are people generally friendly and supportive? I'd say generally yes. Like, of course, there's gonna be people who enjoy drama and are just like weird. But for the most part, people are like nice. Like if you talk to someone, they're not gonna be rude to you for the most part. I have found that St. Olaf can be a little bit cliquey. Like people form friend groups and oftentimes have a hard time branching out of their friend groups, which I hate because I'm always down to make new friends. If you ever see me around and you want to be my friend, just say you want to be friends and we can be friends. Like I'm not tied down to like a specific friend group. I think that's stupid and dumb. But I have noticed that a lot of people like to stick with their friend groups and don't really care about branching out. Especially athletes, for the most part, I've noticed that they just stick with their teammates all the time, and like I think that's kind of weird. But what do I know? What do I know? I'm not one. But I just think it's a little bit strange, and I think we could benefit from more people being open to just like socializing with other people. But I don't think people are rude. You know, unless you give them a reason to be rude to you, for the most part, people are very nice here. What's something unique about St. Olaf's campus culture that you didn't expect before coming? I did not expect it to actually be as close-knit as it actually is, but not in the way where like everybody's besties. And it's not necessarily in a bad way either. It's just like you're gonna know a lot of people and you're gonna know of a lot of people and you're gonna know of a lot of things that people do, and you're just gonna know everything about everyone, and they're gonna know everything about you. And it's kind of a weird experience, but honestly, it's a little bit fun. I'm a little bit sick of it now, so I'm glad that I'm graduating and I can get out of this. People say it feels a lot like high school, and I would have to agree, although I went to a really small high school, so it doesn't really compare. But St. Olaf is about 3,000 students, so about the size of like a normal big public school. So the way gossip spreads in high school, it also kind of spreads here, and you'll just know things about people that you've never even spoken to, and people that you've never spoken to will know things about you. It's just really like a weird experience. Not necessarily a bad thing, it's just interesting. I don't even want to know what people know about me that I don't know that they know, you know? You catch my drift? Like, I know that there are people in this campus who have never spoken to me, who know things about me, and it's kind of freaky. How easy is it to get involved in clubs and organizations? I'd say very easy. The first organization that I was involved in was Manitou Singers, and basically, like, during move-in week, you just, like, go do a voice range check and then get placed in the choir. So if you want to do choir, that's a very easy thing to do. And then a couple weeks into the semester, we have, I forget what it's called, but it's like an organization fair where all the clubs like have a table on the quad and you can walk around and get information about the clubs. And we have a lot of clubs here, so highly recommend going to the club fair and just getting information about all the clubs and getting on their email aliases. Me personally, I was involved in the pre-dental club for a little bit back when I was pre-dental throwback. And I'm currently involved in the psychology club. And of course, I'm still in choir. I'm in the St. Olaf choir, which it's a very big time commitment, but I do love it. What's the science scene like? So I'm a psych major, so I can only really speak on that, but I was a bio major for a hot minute. I used to be a biology major on the pre-dental track, and then I started taking the chemistry classes that were involved with the bio major, and I quickly realized that it was not my academic strong suit. And psych had always been my backup major, so I went to my backup major, wasn't totally thrilled about it, but it was actually the best academic decision I've ever made in my life. I love being a psych major, highly recommend. I know within the psych major we had an issue with people getting the classes they needed, but I'm pretty sure that's fixed. I think there were more class sections added to the psych classes. So hopefully now everyone can get the classes that they need. That would be great. One thing I love about being a psych major is how nice everyone is, because back when I was a bio major, no shade to the bio major or anyone in the major, but everyone in those classes just seemed kind of like uptight and like they just weren't having fun. Like I would try and talk to people in class, and I made a couple friends in my bio classes, but like everyone else that I talked to just seemed like really closed off and like they just were not having a good time, which understandable. The bio major is hard and chemistry made me literally want to die. Like I actually dropped my first chemistry class halfway through the semester, and that's when I decided that I needed to switch my major. But in the psych major, I've noticed that people are generally way more sociable, way easier to talk to people. They're way more like open to talking to you. So I do appreciate the social aspect of the psych major, and I love being a psych club. Everyone in psych club is so awesome. But in general, I think science is like the most popular like category of majors. It's the biggest building on campus, always bustling, and you definitely won't have any shortage of people around you to help you and to talk to. How was the adjustment to Minnesota winters coming from a warmer state? Great question. I feel like I actually didn't have that difficult of a time adjusting. I think because I came prepared. My mom was very concerned that I was going to be cold, so she bought me like really warm stuff and lots of layers. Very appreciative of that. I'd say as long as you layer correctly, you're fine. And like layers are better than like one thick coat. So just get a bunch of layering pieces and wear them all at once. And also get boots that are waterproof, because sometimes I've worn my Converse out in the snow and my feet are soaked, so don't recommend that. I don't really mind the winters until it gets to March and it's still snowing, but honestly, the harsh winters make the first days of spring so much more magical. Like you can feel an energy shift. It's awesome. Final question, any advice for incoming freshmen? I love this question, and I give the same piece of advice every time. I always love to tell people to put themselves out there right away during orientation week, because that's how you're gonna make friends. The awesome thing about socializing during orientation week is that for the most part, nobody else knows each other, and you're all in the same boat of looking for friends and people to connect with. So it's not weird or awkward if you just walk up to someone and introduce yourself and like get their number and plan to get lunch together or something. For the first couple days of college, I was hanging out with the most random people who I've never spoken to again, but it was really nice to have groups of people to hang out with during those first few days where nobody really knows each other. And a few of those people did remain my friends for longer than orientation week. And of course, there's gonna be other opportunities to make friends as well. Like most of my friends that I have right now are people that I never even talked to during orientation week. I met them later on. But it's always a good thing to get your foot in the door and talk to people so that you have people to hang out with during orientation week, and you never know where those friendships might lead. And also just don't be afraid to talk to people in your classes. Like if you're vibing with someone in class, do not be afraid to ask them to hang out. One of my best friends I actually met through Latin class. Oh, another piece of advice, do not take Latin as your foreign language. It sounds cool, but it's not cool. It's actually the worst. But anyway, those were some of your questions that you had about St. Olaf. I hope my answers were helpful. I'm gonna go read a book, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye.